Okay. So now we know I have to lift the.
Yes, and I think we're recording. It goes away as soon as yes, we are recording. Hi! All right, you guys. Beth and I are so excited. This is our first original, I don't know what we're going to even call it. We were doing a podcast, very low tech, and then the wonderful Vanessa from the UK opened up my world to Zoom, and so we're using that, and so that you can see Beth and I and see our faces and see our expression and all that good stuff. So anyway, our very first episode, we decided to share with you, since it's in the States, this is the week of Thanksgiving, we decided we would start with what we are thankful for, what we are so grateful for in the world of early childhood education, specifically in the world of childhood learning. Those things that helped both Beth and I make positive changes to our program. Those things that helped us stand up, which took a lot of bravery. So we're going to hit on 3 different areas. We're going to hit on books, people, and aha moments. Those are the 3 areas of things that we are most grateful for. So Beth, you want to go first? Do you have one?
Oh, hey.
Oh, I threw you off guard. See, you can't hide your face now. I see it.
All right, so we're going to start with people. That work?
Perfect.
All right, so people. My very first aha moment many, many years ago was a West Ed training with Magda Gerber. It was, and honestly, I had forgotten about it. I mean, I knew that I was applying her principles to my program, but I had forgotten actually the thrill of knowing her or meeting her and attending a training that she was presenting at. So,
I'm quite jealous that you actually got to meet her.
Yeah, a friend of mine from North Dakota reminded me that we were at that training together, and I'm like, oh, that's right. And then all of a sudden I could see the vision of Magda, this short little vibrant woman. And then it all came back and I'm like, yep. So that's probably one of the people that impacted a lot of what I do. Even though she spoke mostly on infants and toddlers, it definitely bled into my 3 to 5 year olds also.
And I'm going to add on to what you've just said, because one of mine is also Magda, and things that I've learned through Janet Lansbury and Magda. So the 2 go hand in hand in my world. But I've used those things all the way up through my teenagers.
Yeah. Those
same philosophies, the same ideas, the same core, I don't know if you want to call it values that she talks about, but it spans all ages. Is there anything specific you definitely took from that training? One thing that stands out most?
The importance of primary caregiving. Just those little ones need to know that one person is their go-to.
And you guys, just so you know, Beth is a family childcare provider. She has a larger program, so she has a couple employees. And Beth is very, very headstrong, I would say, would be a fair word. I think Becca would agree with me on that Beth is that primary person to begin with. She gets those babies going in the program and builds that, confidence in them then, that safety, all those important things before she hands them over to, right? And how long is that process, Beth, then?
About 8 months.
Okay, so for 8 months, you're the primary provider, and so then her employees take over, almost not really take over. I mean, it's still a team effort, but then they're handed over more to the other gals. What I've learned from Magda was through a Janet Lansbury blog post, and it was one of those deals where she had links, and I linked, click, 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 and got to some conversation with a grandma who had been reading all that Magda has to say and Janet has to say, and Magda is the brains or the voice, the woman behind the RIE philosophy. Is that the right word to call it? Of infant care. And this grandma was a brand new grandma, and she wanted to know what kind of toys to buy for her. You guys, I'm sorry, I don't know where my eyes need to go to see you.
No, me too.
Right? So bear with us. We're talking to you. We just don't know where to look. But anyway, she drove by a Rye program. And so she thought, I'm going to stop in and see if I can get a tour. I want to just get ideas for what to buy for my new grandbaby. So she went into this center and went into the infant room and was shocked because the toys that were there were not toys at all.
Right.
There were bowls, strainers, lids, spoons, random materials, nothing that she would categorize as a toy. And so she asked Magda to explain this in this forum online. And Magda said that babies, children, all children of all ages, I think people in general, like I said, I've taken everything I've learned from them and adapted it to my entire world, need toys that are passive, meaning the toy does absolutely nothing unless the child or the human actively engages it. Now, that does not mean push a button and sit there and watch. It means you're actively banging blocks together. You're actively taking a spoon and hitting this. You're actively, whatever, active participant. She said that toys that light up and play music, they create humans that need to be entertained. And so you want children to be the active participant. You want the toys to be passive. And I take that to the absolute ends of the earth in my program. There's absolutely no battery operated anything in my program. In fact, the flashlights are not even battery operated. If the child wants light to come out of that flashlight, I've got the spinning kind. And you're supposed to just spin the heck out of it so that it will always work. Nope. They have to be, if they stop spinning, the light stops. I mean, I take it all the way. And so, yeah, Magda is definitely one of mine. Tack onto that Janet Lansbury, which, Beth, I'm guessing that's one of yours too, is Janet. Have you? Yeah. Okay. So I'm going to do a person, and I'm probably going to cry, but my person I am very thankful for is Beth. I think it was 2013 that Beth messaged me on Play Counts saying, I found somebody, you speak about, or you write about what I feel is right in my heart, and I left what I know is right in my heart because I wanted to please parents. I thought this is what parents needed, and so I left, child-led for worksheets and teacher-directed, and it has never, ever felt right. And now I found your page, and now I've got the backing that I need to go back to what I believe is right in my heart. Then Beth found a way to bring me into her hometown, and I stayed with Beth in her home. And I mean, just the warmth, it was immediate, wasn't it, Beth? Just that connection, I think. And the two of us together have since grown so much in our philosophy and bravery to stand up and insist, no, this follow the lead of children, trust us, just trust us and trust children. And so I am very, very thankful for you, Beth.
Not fair. Max, stop.
Oh no, now he's gonna make Murphy bark. Murphy,
not fair. I was saving you for last. That's not fair to make me cry right away.
And you don't have to have me be one of yours. Don't feel pressured, Beth.
I mean, think about the importance of, I knew that I wanted to bring somebody to Oaks, but I wanted it to be like somebody that made people think. Because if I remember correctly, I want to talk, we're both weepy women. If I remember correctly, our oldest daughter, at the time that I met you, had gotten married a year before, and she had just experienced a miscarriage shortly after I met you. And so the whole time, like when I messaged you, it was the thought of, I'm going to be a grandma.
Oh.
And looking around and thinking, oh, there's so much more for my grandbabies. I want more. And that for me was a pivotal point to my program, because no longer was I Bethy. And no longer do I get offended, or not offended, like taken back when somebody would say grandma. And I'd be like, no, 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 I'm
Okay, okay. You had reached the point where you were embracing the fact that you were becoming that age where people would maybe think you were a grandma.
right. And then to know that I needed my grandchildren to have more than what's being offered right now. I needed them to have a safe place for children to be children. I no longer wanted to have like, okay, we need to do circle time because these kids have to be ready for school. No, I wanted these kids to say, I had a rough night last night. Can I just sit in your lap all day? And I'd say, yeah, you can. I needed to have that assurance that I could totally break away from what I had become to go back to who I was. And it's just,
I love that. And I think what you just said would resonate with so many people, to go back to what you, however you said that was beautiful. I can't begin to replicate it, but what? To go back to what you,
what I was.
what you were. Yeah.
To what I knew in my heart is what kids need.
And there's so many people out there who know in their heart, and if they're bowing to the system, and I get it, you have to have a job. I mean, some people are so tied to that, but to have that freedom to know that you can, and that backing, the validation.
Right. Yes. Yes.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Wow, that's beautiful. I'm going to jump to, well, I'm going to do one more person on my list, and that would be Bev Boz.
Yeah.
Those of you that have heard me speak know that I hated Bev. If you do not know who Bev Boz is, Bevbos, as soon as you're done, or even pause now and go look, please, because Bev is, in my mind, the queen, absolute queen of childhood. She are just trusting children and following their lead. Janet is definitely, in Magda too, rank up there, but I've never heard them speak. So Bev is the one that's dearest to my heart and my soul. Bev is the one that coined the phrase, the children are the curriculum, which I heard her speak, I think it's been now 14 years ago. And I was like, huh? This woman's crazy. The things that she was saying were so insulting to me because she dared to challenge what I thought was true for so many years. I was very stubborn. I have a blog post about this too. You guys can read more, but, and so I'll keep it short and sweet, but Bev, I mean, I would have loved to have had a camera on me to see my facial expressions listening to her, because I'm certain it was. And I was looking for someone else to match my sour, like, who is this woman? She's from California. Clearly she's on drugs. I mean, right? And just like, everyone in South Dakota, we still ride wagons. So anyway, Bev planted a seed. And no matter how hard I tried, I could not get the Bev seed out of my brain. Never again was I the same. It took me a while to make changes, but I went back to my program and I could hear Bev saying, listen to their play. And I'm like, oh, listen to their play? Why do I want to listen to their play? I'm getting ready to teach them. They're playing so they get their energy out, so then I can teach them. Why do I need to pay attention to that? But Bev's like, listen to their play. Listen to the stories that they tell during their play. That is where I started, listening to play and paying attention to child play.
Right.
I thought those things that children decided to do were just frivolous, just unimportant things. It was just, I honestly thought the only valuable time for a child was during the direct instruction time from me. I truly, truly did not get the value in just letting them play. And it's sad because my childhood, I played. I grew up on a farm. I didn't have adults around me at all. I didn't even have other kids other than my sister. And she didn't play the same things I played. I was outside all day long. Never once did anyone check on me, nothing. And, I think I turned out fairly okay. But Bev is definitely one of my people that I am so grateful for, as far as changing, totally changing. Like, I cannot even begin to get across to people how much she helped me change. Okay, Beth, people, book, or aha moment?
Well, I'm just going to do a little bit more about people because they'll know who they are. So I'm not going to name all the names because there's so many. But it's our tribe.
Yep.
It's that group of people that we went to and that validified what we were saying, and they reassured us that no, you're not nuts. That's exactly what kids need. And it's finding that group so that you can become more and more confident, because that's what it takes in order to make these changes work in your program and work in your community and work in your state, is being confident in your program and knowing who you are and having no apologies for it. This is what it is. This is my program. This is what people come to expect from me. You're either in or you're out. And having that tribe to be in was huge, especially in the early years. What, 4 or 5 years ago? It was important to have that tribe.
Oh yeah, absolutely. I agree. And yeah, all those people that I've had conversations with on Facebook, every single conversation I've had, whether I've come across as super stubborn and in my ways, which I have been accused of many, many times, and I'm like, oh, no, 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 no. I was. You don't get it. I was. I did it the other way. I was stubborn. Now I'm very open-minded, but I'm very closed-minded to go back. I will not go back to the other way. And so that's where I do come across a little bit stubborn. But every conversation makes me think, and I learn and I grow from it. I'm going to jump to an aha moment. Oh gosh, there's so many, but one of my very first, like, oh, Denita, you have got to make some changes, happened in my family child care program. And you have to understand, back in the day, I would go to Barnes & Noble and take my lesson plan book. I love nothing more than filling out this lesson plan book from August through May. I knew my children, I was child-led because I knew all their interests. And I knew that I had 2 kids that loved dinosaurs. So we would do, and they really loved dinosaurs. So we would spend 3 weeks on dinosaurs for 2 children, right? Really? And then I knew D obviously would go with dinosaur, probably would get to T for pterodactyl, T-Rex. You know, I planned out all these things. But I didn't like to be like the traditional play school. You know, you start out the beginning of the year, all about me, friends, you know, those are your themes. I always had to be different. So I started out this one particular year kind of about me, but with a twist. It was census. So we started out in that first week of school was census. And we were all about, you know, our eyes one day, our ears one day. We were on noses on this particular day, and we were outside playing so the kids could get their energy out, so we could go inside and I could teach them all about their noses because they needed to know all the specifics. And they found a caterpillar. You can't smell a caterpillar. Did not fit in the theme. What do children want to do when they find a caterpillar? Keep it. Bring it inside. My mind was so stuck on my lesson plan book and my theme. Guess what I said when they asked if we could take that caterpillar inside? No. I said, boys and girls, in 2 weeks, we're going to learn all about caterpillars. But today, we're going to go learn about our noses. And the deflation in those children was like a pit in my stomach, and I had Bev's seed in my brain, okay? And I'm like, oh my gosh, Denita, are you really that stuck on your theme and your plan that you can't be in the moment with children? There's a caterpillar now. Are we going to find a caterpillar in 2 weeks when we're learning about them? Why can't we learn about them now when in the moment we found a caterpillar and they're really excited about it? So as I'm having this conflict and I'm watching these deflated children, my brain found a way. The hungry caterpillar. I could connect it to senses because we could bring food in. All the foods that the caterpillar tasted, we could bring those in and we could taste them and we could smell them and we could look at them and we could feel them. So we brought the caterpillar in, and I still made it fit into the theme, which now I don't believe in themes. Now I believe in the moment. Now we're going to learn about caterpillars. It's probably just going to be the 3 children that found the caterpillar. The other children are busy doing something else. But it was one of my first aha moments of just how bad, I think is the correct word, I had become or as self-absorbed, really. I mean, let's face it, that theme was all about me. It wasn't about the children. It should have been called All About Me, but it was about Denita. You know, let's start with All About Denita this week. So that was one of my big aha moments. Okay, Beth, back to you.
Oh, big aha moments. Well, like I said earlier, as far as thinking about being a grandmother, that was a huge aha moment for me. Huge. And then I think one of the others was when I actually took the play out, or the paint outside, and set it up on a shower. I had the clear shower curtain that you taught me I should get. And the kids started painting themselves. And I'm like, okay, just breathe, Beth, just breathe. We can get through this. And one of the little girls looked at me and she lifted up her shirt and she just painted and painted and painted. And she was just so full of joy. And ever since then, if we are outside, it is no holds barred on paint. I don't care what you do with paint. Just remember, at some point it has to come off because we have to go in my house. So It has to come off. And if it's October and you've chosen to paint your whole body, it's going to be cold.
Yep.
And it comes off. And that's your choice, and I'm okay with it. And it only takes once for them to realize the hose water is cold.
Yep.
I mean, it is. But that aha moment of just the beauty of her face was just like, oh, I can really paint my belly orange. I said, absolutely, you can.
And that's just it. Those aha moments can be that tiny. Look at their faces. See the difference in the joy of something that is meaningful to them versus the, you know, so many people go, oh, Mom, but my kids love worksheets. Really?
Yeah.
Look at their faces. Look at, is there the, I mean, there is a difference between joyful learning and forced learning or meaningless learning or learning that has very little meaning, maybe not all the way to meaningless. I don't want to offend anybody, but
right.
I do want to make you think, though. Yeah.
Well, and that's just it. And that's what we're about, is making people think and making people realize that, yes, kids can learn their ABCs and 1, 2, 3s at age 2 and 3. But what purpose does it serve them?
Right?
It doesn't.
I bumped into a gal. I also teach or taught for about 20 years group fitness classes, and a gal that came to my classes for years is now a grandma, and she was at the toy store, and her grandson is 2, and she had an ABC puzzle. She was buying him, and she said, he sings the alphabet all the time, so now it's time for him to start learning what they look like. And through our conversations, it happened very organically and naturally, which I love, that I was able to go, and he was with her, and he was actually playing with a toy, a ball run. That was fantastic for a 2-year-old, and met his needs and would build the foundation that was far more important than him recognizing letters at 2. And so I was able to say, so what he's doing now is far more valuable. Just so you know, I said, watching things with his eyes moving, this ramp would be a far better gift at this point in his life. And I was able to say it without like totally telling her, oh, Grandma, put that back here. Don't get him that, get him this. Just trust me. Listen to me. Something else, I'm going to hit on books here. I'm not a huge sit down and read. I love reading for a brain escape. I have a hard time reading early childhood books because my time to read is before I go to bed. And I am very passionate about early childhood education, child-led, the brain development, all those things. And so I can't read those books before I go to bed because they wake up my brain and I cannot sleep. I think of new workshops. I think of new topics to write about or whatever. But one book that I did make it from cover to cover is Heather Shoemaker's book, because she brilliantly wrote it for people like me with just little snippets that are very simple to read. And so her book is one of my all-time favorites, very, very life-changing for me. And that is the It's Okay Not to Share and Other Renegade Rules for Creating Competent and Compassionate Kids. Is that what it's called, Beth?
Yep.
Yes. And also, if you have an opportunity to hear Heather speak, I also highly recommend that. But Heather Shoemaker is definitely one of those people, and specifically her book, that I am quite grateful for.
Yep. I read her book on our way to Utah. So 17 hours to Utah, I read it. And then it was like so pivotal in my brain. I read it 17 hours back on the way home to Utah.
I love it. And I read it over the span of several months, one little bit at a time, digested it, really observed my practice, made changes, was able to then take in another chapter, absorb it, make changes. Another one of the very first books that I read, I haven't read it from cover to cover, but I read enough that it made an impact on me, was, and it's I'm going to hold up my thing, Play, How It Shapes the Brain, Opens the Imagination, and Invigorates the Soul by Stuart Brown. So that's one that have you read that one at all, Beth?
No, it's on my list.
Okay. And see, Beth and I think, Beth, I haven't run this by you, but I think we should do a New Year's post.
Oh. Yeah.
And that's what we'll our to-do lists are like, and that's where I have so many books that I need to read. One that I am currently reading is The Mind in the Making.
Oh,
and that one so far has been very, very beneficial too. But my other one, and this one also is fantastic. By the time I read this, I was already in complete agreement. It just validated more. So this was more validation. The Great Disconnect in Early Childhood Education, What We Know versus What We Do by Michael Gramling. That's another one that is eye-opening, fantastic. It is a great one to help you if you struggle with explaining to parents, explaining to administrators why there needs to be more choices in your program, in your classrooms, why you need to be more led by the children and their interests, more so than by checklists and lesson plans. That one was really life-altering to me. All right, what else, Beth? Do you have any more?
Well, I read for online training several years ago, The 5 Love Languages of Children by Gary Chapman. That really made me think, because you've heard about the 5 love languages of adults, but this put it in a child's perspective. That was very, very interesting. I learned a lot from that book.
That's one that is on my list. It's been on my list forever. I need to read that one. Is there any kind of blog or anything that goes along with that? Do you know?
I don't know.
I wonder. Yeah.
Not sure. I think Emily Plank's book, Discovering the Culture of Childhood. Yes.
And that one I've begun, and am also dabbling with too, a little here, a little there. And I know people who are not big book readers like me who have read that cover to cover very, very quickly. So I know that if I just took the time, I would get sucked into it. Emily is fantastic. She's kind of along the Janet Lansbury, Magda Gerber line. Yeah, absolutely. And I'm going to share one more aha moment for me that just really has validated the changes I've made. This moment happened after I bravely stood up and made 100% complete changes to my program, went all out. It takes little phases to let go of these things that for so many years I was in control of. And so when the first group of children I had where it was all them, they walked into my program and I said, "What's your plan?" I had 0 plans for the children. And this guy, his mom, Oliver, is now in the 1st grade. And so this was the fall before he went to kindergarten. His mom pulled me aside and said, "Denita, I trust everything that you have taught us, everything that you believe in, but I can't help but be nervous and scared for what kindergarten is going to be like for Oliver, because I know that it has changed a lot." This is one of those families where there's 2 older children, like 10 and 11, and then there was Oliver, who was 3 and a half, 4 at this point. He was 4. And she said, "My main concern is that he's not writing just for enjoyment. Like, he's not voluntarily writing. And I looked at her and I said, Mindy, so let's think about Oliver here. Let's talk about what he can do. He can take things apart and put them back together. He has perseverance like you wouldn't believe. This child does not give up. He, in the good way of not wanting to give up, like he will try and try and try and try. He is clever. He's got imagination. He can see out of objects things to make with them. Just this really awesome mind. Body. He can climb up the slide like nobody's business. He can cut with scissors. He can thread things. He can do all kinds of things with his fingers, but his shoulders and biceps and core muscles, I mean, he's got balance. He's got everything he needs. He's got that foundation. All he's missing is the motivation to write. He has yet to come up with a purpose for writing. It's never been important in his life. I said, I trust that when he has that motivation, he's going to be able to do it. And I said, how about we make a deal? How about you wait until February? Don't mess with anything till February. Let's follow his lead. Let's wait for him to come up with his own reason to write. If by February he hasn't and you're still worried, you do what you need to at home. I will continue to follow his lead here at school. So that was our agreement. February rolled around. Of course, he had no more interest in writing by then. And so I said, end of February, I'm like, okay, what are you going to do? And she said, Denita, I'm going to wait. I'm going to trust. I'm going to keep following his lead. I'm like, okay, good. Well, I think it was about the middle of March. His older sister, Gracie, turned 12 or 13. She had a birthday party at their house. So house full of giggly girls, 12, 13 years old. Little Oliver fell in love. He comes running up from the basement and said, Mom, I'm in love with Gracie's friend. I want to write her a letter. So can you imagine this mom? Okay, here's a paper. Here, it's a pen. Okay, now you tell me what you want to say. I'll write it on this paper, but you write it on that paper. So that's what they did. He copied her. She wrote on one. He did his own. And she goes, Denita, you were right. He wrote every single letter as if he'd been writing for years. She said the only letter he struggled with was a G. This child had never written anything other than Oliver. And it made me just really pause. First of all, it made me cry because I'm like, yes, this works. It works to trust children. We just need to trust. And it also made me feel so sad for all those children I had held onto their hand and forced them to write. And why did I do that? Because parents were expecting it, not because it was in the best interest of a child.
Right.
One of my, and I just actually saw Mindy 2 weeks ago. And guess how Oliver's doing in first grade? Amazing. His reading level is far above first grade. His writing, she said, she can't believe how good his writing is. And I truly believe it is because we waited until everything was ready for Oliver. He had that foundation. His body was ready. His brain was ready. And then his heart was ready. He found love. I mean, what better reason is there to write than love?
I love that.
Isn't it the best story ever?
It is. I love that.
I do too. All right. Well, Beth, I suppose this is getting kind of long, huh?
Probably is.
Do you have anything else?
It's so much fun to talk to you.
I love this. I'm so sorry though, you guys, because I'm sure our eyes are wonking you all out because I do not know. Like when Beth is talking right now, when I'm looking like this, I'm looking at Beth. I feel like we're the Brady Bunch. You know how you look at each other's, like, where am I for you, Beth? Look at me. Look at me.
You're over there.
Oh, okay. So we can do the Brady Bunch thing then. So I can look at you and you can look at me and it is like the Brady Bunch. Oh, funny. But I think this is where I need to look, right? Am I looking at you guys right now? I'm pretty sure. Yeah. But that doesn't feel right to look up there. So I am so sorry. We'll figure it out. Hang in there with us.
Oh my gosh, it's been so much fun.
Yeah, and, I love this.
We talked about being thankful and our gratitude. And I would have to say that I'm just so thankful that for everybody that's walked with us in this journey. Because that's what we're on. We're always learning from each other. And to have people that think, and I don't want to make it about us, because I want people to realize how much of our journey they are a part of. You know, we wouldn't be willing to sit here and talk about what we've learned if we didn't
And
have
look at our faces. I'm like,
yeah,
kind of.
and
I
have
hate
friends that are
I
really
hate my round cheeks.
yeah. Well, I keep thinking, oh my gosh, where did we evolve to the same haircut?
I know it, isn't it funny? Libri noticed that in our terrible video where I'm straight from the shower and you're after a day of childcare, so we weren't fixed up whatsoever. And he goes, nice, you guys have the same haircuts. And I'm like, you can even tell.
Yep. And I've just come from a sheep show with my fancy new sheep earrings.
Well, I kept wondering, why do you have dogs on your, earrings? They're sheep. Oh, that makes sense, Beth.
There's a good.
Yeah, I like it.
And they're leather, so it feels like you got nothing on.
And I do have eye makeup on, but it looks like I don't. Like, I just have to plaster next time. My eyes just look like they disappear. So.
Oh my gosh.
All right, you guys, let's stop.
We're so squirrel. We're so squirrel. It's been awesome.
All right, until next time. Goodbye.
Okay, bye everyone.